Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review. I'm here today to talk to you about Secrets of Sulphur Spring Season 3. So I'm finally able to watch it. I've been watching it all week. I've been watching episode by episode, getting the anticipation and everything. But when it got to around, episode 6, I just had to complete the rest, like all in a row and everything. Because I was so curious to know how it was going to end. And so I've already reviewed the first episode when it came back out, I think around March or so. I have to say, this season is probably the darkest of all the seasons, but probably the best season of them all in terms of suspense and creepiness and stuff and story building is season 2. Season 1 is good for the cliche time travel type thing and meeting your parents when they're kids and stuff like that. Season 3, although it is the darkest, I have to say it kind of misses the mark here and there a couple of times. I'm conflicted, There are some parts I really like, but then there are other parts that fell just kind of flat. And the parts that fell kind of flat is because they was trying to be very ambitious and get a bit darker and more mysterious, but some things just weren't explained very well and they just randomly happened because of like plot armor, and it felt kind of hollow at times. And the whole power of love thing gets on my nerves. I hate when that's used to like defeat evil and everything. And so, wow, it very, very intriguing. And while it started off very strong and it had a very good start towards the middle, it kind of died down a little bit. Then it picked back up, only for it to fall kind of flat. And I can't be the only person that felt this way because the ratings started to dip a lot this season. Season 1 had some pretty strong ratings, and so did season 2. But by the last episode of season 2, it started to dip. And in fact, around 0.19 million or so is the views it had in season 3. Whereas opposed in season 1, it was like in the 0.65 million ratings and stuff like that. So the target already I can't talk. I can't talk. The target audience, this is supposed to be like for younger people, like teens and stuff. They're probably starting to either get bored with the series, or it's becoming a little too spooky for them, and their parents probably don't want them to watch. But people like myself that are adults, this is harking back to the so weird days, So we're all in for it and stuff. And I do appreciate them getting darker and being more complex with their storytelling. But of course, it's more creepier on a kid's level and everything. Because originally this was supposed to be a Disney Plus series, but then it went on over to Disney Channel. I truly believe if it was a true Disney Plus series, they might have went a little darker. But if it was on another streaming site, they would have went full on dark. But all in all, like I said before, it's a really cool season. It's just, it kind of loses its way a couple of times. It gets a little scattered in the writing. A lot of the writing staff from the original first 2 seasons came back. There's a few new people and stuff. Now, as of this recording, the show hasn't been renewed or canceled yet, so it's probably up in the air. I will say it's so batty how the kids have gotten so tall and older now, man. It's insane. Like the female twin and the Savannah girl are the same age but completely different height. The Savannah girl is getting tall. I suppose she'll probably be anywhere between 5'8" and 5'11" by the time she reaches adulthood and stuff. Like she's getting that tall and stuff. And so are all the others, like the twins. Like, oh my God, man. It's so interesting how this show started off. It just started off as like, this family type show where these people moved into like a haunted hotel. And then there's the weird phenomenon type stuff going on. And these two kids who aren't supposed to be friends end up being friends. And then somehow they found a time traveling machine and then they find a girl who went missing, but she never really went missing, like as opposed to being like kidnapped and killed and like all this other stuff, or like a ghost. But it turns out she was just traveling through time and didn't even realize it and stuff. And it's funny how it went from that premise to now all of a sudden actual ghosts haunting the hotel. In the first two seasons, it was Grace. And then in the third one, it's a completely different ghost. There seem to be three different types of ghosts. There's Grace, who lives in purgatory. There's this demonic type vengeful ghost. And then there's a good spirited ghost, which I had no idea this person was a ghost. When they revealed that, it was like, what? That don't make no sense. And that's one of the reasons why I have a problem, because that made absolutely no sense. And so, like, this season, like I said before, when Griffin travels to the future in 2024, he realizes his home has been burnt down. He also finds out that Topher is in a coma and his mom is like really screwed up in the head in a mental place. They had to live in like this new place and everything is all dreary. Now that started off amazingly great. It's like, oh my God, what happened? Why is like, Griffin and Harper, like, why does Harper hate him so much? Well, it turns out Sam will not tell everything that happened, which is really bizarre. He's keeping that a secret, which is building up to the intensity. So you assume it's going to be something really huge, and it is, but not for what Sam has to reveal. Sam is hiding something, but he will not say what that is. His big reveal comes towards the end, but as a huge shocker. But for the most part, he doesn't really have a big reveal, and that kind of like makes it fall flat. They kept building and building and building up to like, Sam having this big bad dark secret, but then when you do find out what it is, yes, it's emotional and sad, but it's not the kind of reveal you was kind of hoping for. You was hoping they would tie into what caused all this bad stuff for Griffin, And so like it turns out that Griffin pushed Topher off the balcony and he fell and went into a coma. But the question is, why? Why would Griffin do this? You know what I'm saying? And so it causes Topher's family to not like him no more. That was like insane. So eventually he has to tell Harper. And Harper doesn't want to believe it, but then she sees it in her visions. I'm still not sure why they gave Harper the sight to see into the future, like tragic events. I mean, it was just kind of odd and weird. And it just doesn't, I don't know, it's just weird. That never set too right with me that she can see like events in the future, but it helps out for the story, but that's just plot armor. But even so, she doesn't want to believe Griffin is a bad person. And so I assume because of all that, they was going to spend the whole season figuring out why Griffin pushed Topher, why all this bad stuff is happening. Of course, it's the result of the ghost. I thought they was going to prevent it for that, right? But they kind of don't, and it's just kind of like, why not? Why not dwell on that? That could have been some good world building. That's what season 2 had. Season 2 had mystery after mystery that tied into one another, and they kept making it more interesting and stuff. And so, like, of course, they have to get Savannah back home and all this other stuff because they have to get a new crystal. Well, they do eventually find a new crystal and they get the machine to work. But sadly, the twins and Topher all find out about time travel. And then Griffin dad finds out about it. And so he prevents them from going down in the bunker. But he doesn't know they're time traveling, but he prevents them from going down in the bunker, and he ties up the hatch with a chain so that they can't go through the other side. This is terrible because Savannah has to time travel to meet everybody, and so like she's unable to. Now they do realize this must be a new ghost, and something must have happened back at like 1974. So they can't go back in time travel. And so it's like, who is this mysterious ghost? You only see like smoke, but it kind of makes out a hand as it keeps trying to grab Griffin's mom. Well, when it comes to the new trio, because it's weird. Like this show has three sets of trios, but now it actually has four that you think about it. Okay, so you have Griffin, Savannah, and Harper. That's one trio. Then you have the three parents. That's the second. Now you have the twins and Topher. But then you get Grace, Sam, and Grace's daughter, Ruby, who will be introduced in this season. And it's always the pairs of three, man. But here's my thing about the twins and Topher finding out. It's no longer fun when you don't have a secret. And that's the thing that Harper, Griffin, and Savannah had. Now the entire family is finding out about ghosts and the bunker and time travel and this and that, and it's no longer fun. And so it was always fun when the twins and Topher were in their own little world, doing their own little thing, being scared of ghosts and stuff like that. Now they want to be a part of the adventure, but in a very bratty way. They're demanding to know everything. They want to go with Griffin and Savannah and like Harper every time they time travel. But they don't want them to come because they say it's dangerous and lives are at stake. But they're demanding to go, and they're demanding to know everything that's going on. And it becomes a bit annoying because they start to act a little bratty about that. Plus, Topher and the guy twin are always screaming ghosts or zombie or this and that. Only the girl twin is chill, but even she be demanding too. And so now that they're like butting in, it's kind of no more fun because now it's a big group doing this and that and time traveling and disobeying rules. In fact, the twins decide to use the time machine. Don't know how they knew how to set it, but whatever. And they end up back in Savannah's time. And so Savannah catches them right before their dad catches them. And he time travels and doesn't know it. Then they disobey rules again and they travel to the year 2024. Because they want to see what all the bad stuff has happened. When they go to 2024, Savannah was supposed to go home but doesn't want to because she wants to help out. But Sam and the others keep telling her to stay back in her own time because they don't want her mom to worry and all this other stuff. Plus, they don't want to alter time, which now that is a thing. In the past, I've always wondered how come Harper couldn't save her dad. And it seemed like no matter what you do in the past, it has no effect on the future. But now it does. See, when they go to the future and everything, Savannah follows them. And they see Harper with her mom at their house with Topher. I'm like, oh, wait, hold up. Topher's out the coma? When did this happen? Because see, here's the thing now. When you use the time travel, it will either take you back 30 years. And then if you go through the hatch the wrong way, it takes you about another 30 years. Then they found out they can set an actual year. Now, it only takes you back to whatever year you set it for, not an actual date. So whatever that day and time is, that's the time that you travel. Now, the thing is, so we knew that Topher was in a coma, but now he's not. And so they went to the grave. And so they don't know why they would go visit Topher's father's grave. Now, Topher should have known what his father's grave site looked like. But when they go to see where Harper was at, it turns out to be Griffin. Griffin died. Somehow. We don't know how. It's never revealed. And it's like, how is he dead? He was just there in the future being all grumpy and suspended from school and restraining orders and stuff like that because Harper was like terrified of him. So it's like, how exactly did he die? And it's never, ever, ever explained. But time got altered because of something, I believe. Either because Griffin knows what happens to Topher, so he prevents that from happening, or it happens with Savannah when she's in the year 1974. See, because of Griffin's dad, she cannot travel back to the year 2023. So she decides she's going to go in and investigate 1974. And so, like, when she does that, she finds Judge Walker, the evil judge who stole like Harper's family and Grace's family and Daisy and them families like home and turned it into a hotel. And so like he's stealing a bunch of money and he's hiding it in the barn. Him and the sheriff are like crooked and stuff. So Savannah spies on him and she takes the money, right? But then Savannah finds somebody very interesting in the year 1974. It's Daisy, all grown up into a grown woman, and she's a maid at the Belmont. And so at first she's happy to see Savannah until Savannah starts asking questions about why she's working there after what the judge did. For some reason, Daisy does not want to answer the questions and she wants Savannah to leave and talking about you're just gonna make everything worse. So it's like, what exactly is she gonna make worse? Well, the problem is now she couldn't necessarily get wait. At some point in time she tried to go through the hatch and she couldn't. So she started banging on it. And this is something that's very odd. So like at some point the twins were out and about near the hatch. And they see the older Savannah, who's an old woman who's nutty in the head. And so she started talking about the banging, and stuff like that. So they don't know what she's talking about. So they told Griffin and they told Harper. And so, like, they realized something must be wrong. Savannah must be time traveling and can't get through. So somehow somebody takes the chain off, like the hatch and everything, and they time travel back to Savannah's time of like the 60s and stuff. Now, this is what getting so confusing. We only see old Savannah once. And it's kind of like, how exactly did she know about the banging? It's never explained. And you think there would be more to it, but there's not. And it's just kind of like, that's one of those things that feels kind of hollow in the writing. And it was just there for plot armor so that Griffin and them could go back to 1960 and stuff like that. Eventually meet Savannah, surprise her in her room. And so, like, it's also never explained, how older Savannah went nutty in the head and ended up in the retirement home and stuff. And so, like, when they're talking to Savannah, she's telling them about like the money and the judge and this and that. So they think, okay, maybe the judge is probably the ghost in room 205 because that's where all the crazy stuff is happening. Now, one thing that's bugging me is now in this season, every time somebody time travels into the past, they don't change their clothes anymore. And it's just kind of like, girls didn't wear pants and shorts back then. And they didn't wear outfits that are modern. So they had to cover up Griffin's shirt and stuff like that by just buttoning it up. And so it's just kind of, it takes the fun of it when they don't change clothes. And so they looking to see who lived in, that room at that time. Because only one person ever stayed in room 205. But why is that? So they time travel to 1974. And Daisy is not happy to see them. And so after some investigating here and there, they realize, it was the judge, Judge Walker and stuff. Well, that's when they discover Ruby, the daughter of that Daisy. And so, like, Daisy does not like the judge. And she believes that, he's up to something no good. So she spies on him and this and that, and she's gonna tell him off. Well, when Griffin and them go to investigate, they see Ruby run out the room. They go inside the room, and my God, Disney Channel went there. The judge is dead, laying on the floor. It's like, whoa, Disney Channel actually went there. So they think Ruby did it, right? After some investigating here and there, the ghost is starting to act a little cranky. He tosses Sam across the room and everything, and he's trapped in like the barn, supposedly. So when they go back, they accidentally like reveal it to like, Ruby and stuff like that. Daisy's still acting weird, and then they saved her from the sheriff because, like I said before, she was spying and this and that. And so Daisy reveals what really happened in that room. It wasn't Ruby that killed him, it was Judge Walker's wife. They show an innuendo, they show the shadow of like the judge and the shadow of a person holding a vase and knocking him in the head. And that what killed him. And it turned out to be his wife. And so, like, but why exactly? And the reason why is because he was gonna harm that of like Ruby, because Ruby's all like, I know what you did, I know you stole that money, and blah blah blah. You ain't gonna get away with it. And so he started walking towards her. Now, here's the craziest thing. His wife said that she didn't pick up the vase, somebody gave it to her. Daisy believes it's the ghost of Grace. And so she helps Grace. No, wait. No, Daisy helps Walker's wife get out of town with a bus ticket. So she gets away with this scot-free, right? But here's the craziest thing. His wife looks just like Griffin's mom. And so they're shocked to find that out. And they're all like, it can't be because his grandmother lived in like, or his great grandmother or whatever lived in Chicago. But it turns out she did live in Louisiana at one point. And that's something that, his mom never knew. Now, what's interesting that this ghost is constantly tormenting Griffin's mom. And now we know why the ghost is constantly like terrorizing Griffin's mom. It's making her to the point of her going crazy. Like when she's in like the hot spring, she's in the pool or the pond or whatever, her skin starts to boil and everything, but it's only hers and nobody else. She's seeing things. The ghost is constantly trying to grab at her. The ghost will speak to her and everything and try to scare her. And it's causing her to go insane. And so one time when Harper was time traveling with Griffin, she sees a vision of Griffin's mom, and she's like a zombified ghost looking thing. And so, like I said before, now we know exactly why, because she looks exactly like his wife. It's funny how they're all tied into this. Sam is related to Harper, but yet they never really harp on that. Harp on that. Like, you'd think you'd be like, man, you're like my ancestor and this and that, and you invented time travel. But there's never no bonding section between the two. And so, like, that's something that's a missed opportunity, in my opinion. And it really should have been focused on, because it's kind of like, how often do you get to meet your ancestor who created time travel? Like, you know what I'm saying? And so, like, but it's cool now knowing that it's insane knowing that Griffin's ancestor, who was once married to the judge dude, but Griffin's not related to the judge. After she killed him, she remarried and got some kids. And it's crazy knowing that his former great grandfather, or step great grandfather or whatever, is the one who stole Harper's people's home. It's funny how they're all intertwined with one another. And so, yes, it turns out he just wants revenge on both families and everything. And so that's why he's been haunting that place. Now, the craziest thing happens in terms of plot armor. The twins and Topher, they decide they need to get this ghost out with an exorcism. So Topher remembers there's a ghost whisperer who lives out in the swamp. And it's just the most convenient plot armor thing. They go to her, and it turns out to be older Ruby from the past. And so Ruby promised her mom she'll never go back to that hotel. See, what happened was this. After she got Griffin's ancestor out, I think she stayed there for a while and then she quit and everything. Now, when they lost their home, they went to go live in that swamp place, right? And so, like, Ruby just went back to live there, which Sam is surprised to find that out. And even Sam and Ruby don't really connect or bond. It's weird. That's his niece. And they never really talk, you know what I'm saying? This is such a missed opportunity. In season two, they would have been all over this. This is why the writing has changed in season three. They're not really focusing on the drama aspect of it, just the mystery and the spookiness of it. And they're missing that heart and soul that made season one and two so good. And so she goes back to like get rid of like, the ghost and stuff like that. Well, the ghost is back to terrorizing that Griffin's mom. It hurts her. She has to go to the hospital. Now, here's the craziest thing. The kids have to leave and they go to Topher's place. But then, of course, Griffin and, Harper, they go back to the place. And then, of course, they all go back and everything at some point. And so Sam is like, I have to get y'all out. Oh, Savannah's there too. He's like, I have to get y'all safe. I have to get y'all out, blah, blah, blah. Well, the ghost ends up locking all the doors so they can't leave. And he locks Sam inside the bunker. And so older Ruby, is trying to fight the ghost, but she can't. And so the ghost has the ability to control the entirety of the house. And so he shows himself and talk about how he wants revenge and this and that. Sam is trying to go through the hatch in the bunker, but can't. At some point in time, he said he's going to fiddle around with it to make a precise date that you can time travel, right? But we never get to see him do it. We still don't know how he built the time machine and everything. It's never been explained, and it never will be explained because of a reason that happens at the end. So, something happens. Somebody unhatches the hatch so Sam can get through and go back through the house. However, the time machine, I don't believe it's activated, so he's not time traveling. But who unlocked it for him to get out? That's the thing. It's never been revealed. I guess they want to reveal it in season 4, but they should have revealed it now because Sam's not going to be able to explain himself unless that person does. So he goes back in the house, but he doesn't do absolutely nothing. Then Griffin is pissing off Judge Walker, the ghost, and he's all like, oh yeah. So he starts like using the force to make Harper choke and everything. But don't worry. Savannah's gonna be like, I'll help you breathe. Breathe like I am. And somehow she's able to breathe normal. What kind of writing is that? But guess what gets rid of the ghost? The power of love and loneliness. Griffin's all like, we have friends and family and blah, 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 blah. And your wife left you. Blah, and all this other stuff. And the ghost like, nah. He starts to like shrivel up. I'm just like, the power of freaking love. Like, nah, man, I hate that. And then they're like, go away, ghost, go away. And then he starts going away. I'm like, that's how they're going to defeat the big, bad, evil, demonic ghost, by telling him to go away and use the power of love. But guess where he goes? I can't believe Disney Channel went there. They opened up the gates of you know where underneath a big fiery lavery looking thing. Yeah, they went there. And the ghost went down in there and down into the underground. And then it closed up. Now they would not let the creators let Fee go down to Hell. It's so weird, but they did this in this show. Oh boy. So anyway, this is what don't make no sense. So the judge was pissed off at older Ruby too because he hates the whole family. But then he stopped torturing her to go mess around with the kids. And so she's fine. But she reveals something that I did not see coming. she said, well, Sam says it's time for him to go home. So I'm thinking, okay, he's going to time travel, right? Because remember, he was working at the Beaumont as a handyman, and that's how he met Savannah in the 1960s. And then we assume he time traveled all the way to the 20s. But no, it's turned out that he's been a ghost this entire time. It's like, how? You're like flesh and blood. You're not floating around and you're not glowing and you're not like smoke. How in the world are you a ghost? How are you able to touch stuff? Not only that, but how are you able to eat? Cause him and Savannah had to like stay down in the bunker, and he gave her some old cookies that he's been eating and stuff. But now this explains on where he keep disappearing to, and so that's his big secret. He's really a ghost, and it's like how and why and when and how did he die? And it's never ever explained. And so that's the biggest, like, what the world kind of moment. So I wish they never did that because it made the show very wonky towards the end. And so Savannah is heartbroken because she really likes Sam and everything. And you think that if they would have stayed in that time century, he probably could have, like, adopted her or something. But we'll never get to see any of this. And it's just odd. Like, how the heck was he a ghost this entire time? And how is it that he was able to get hurt if he was a ghost and stuff? And how come he couldn't just float through the walls if he was a ghost? Or just go underneath the door like Judge Walker did? So if he was a ghost, how come he couldn't do none of that stuff? And so, like, Savannah, she goes home and she's happy to see her mom, and the mom found the money and is gonna donate it to create like a place for like lost kids. And there, Savannah gets to meet her future husband and everything. She met him as he's like a kid there at the place, like a counselor. Now, Griffin's dad still doesn't know about Savannah. And so Harper and Griffin, they decide they're heading back to 2024 to see if everything's okay. Well, it is. Topher is okay. Griffin's mom's okay. Um, Harper and Griffin are like prom king and queen. They start kissing and making out. And so, their relationship started building a lot since season two. They're actually dating now. So now they all like, well, since everything's safe, might as well destroy the time machine back in our time. So they head back to the bunker. They got the hammer in one hand, and Griffin's about to smash it until a little boy comes through the hotel in the door. And he tells them, don't do it. And that he's their son from the future. What? So, something else crazy happens in the future. Their son starts to time travel and he's trying to save the day. That is pretty insane. So now it makes you wonder where the show direction is going to go to and what's the big bad of season 4 if they get renewed for a season 4. Because you have to stop and think. Like, after all these ghosts, eventually all the ghosts are going to have to stop. There was Grace, there was Judge Walker. But here's the problem with Judge Walker and the whole ghost thing. Why now? Why all of a sudden in 3 seasons he decided to haunt the place? He could have haunted it in season 1 but never did. He could have haunted it in season 2 but never did. But why now? So that's the part that's never been explained and the part that makes the writing seem kind of funky and everything. So like I said before, it's still a good season. It's just the writing kind of let it down. All the big emotional stuff was not there. All the big world building stuff wasn't there as well. Instead, they focused more on being creepy and more on a mystery, and they kind of forgot what made this show so interesting in the past. Yeah, the mystery is something that helps makes it big, but you need a very strong story to tell, and I felt like it wasn't that strong. I still think they should have just let the entire season be the kids try to prevent Topher being in a coma, his mom going into the crazy place and them their home burning down, because they never explain how the judge caused the house to burn down. They never explain how he caused Griffin to push Topher. And so things like that really need to be explained. Now, it would be nice if they went back to 11 episodes instead of 8. But even in season 2, they told a lot of story in just 8 episodes. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.